Going into playoffs, I think we are definitely the underdogs. You know, we had to convince everyone that we can compete with the top.
Damn it, getting low! LirA pulls him in again! Mike dead!
I do think TSM, like, they're looking really strong, but we beat them before, twice.
Clutch will silence the Doubters and take down TSM!
We have a good chance against them, and it would be really fun to take them out of playoffs because it'd be like the first time they've actually gone kicked out of playoffs.
I'm not really scared of Clutch. I think both of the times we lost to them, it was really on our own accord, and it was really obvious mistakes that we have 100% fixed since then.
TSM claimed the 3rd seed in playoffs.
They are not very proactive, so if the other team doesn't make a mistake, then they just get rolled over, and that's what's been happening against the top tier teams.
A complete tragedy in the pit for Clutch Gaming, and TSM get it all.
I think it showed in the tiebreaker that we played against them that we have the upper hand coming into this match.
It'll like definitely be some David and Goliath story. TSM has the legacy of just always winning, even having their struggle this year.
The way that playoffs is different for TSM compared to other teams is just simply that we always make it to the final, and we usually win. And that's a legacy that I'm going to try to upkeep this split.
Welcome back to TSM versus Clutch Gaming. We're about 10 minutes away from Champions Select. Before we get into it, despite my best efforts, we could not leave this segment behind in the regular season. So here it is, once again, another Jat Stats.
Everyone's favorite.
All right, I did make
Can't
it
wait to look like a
easier
dummy.
for the playoffs. I actually think you guys have
You
a
made them
chance.
easier?
You have a chance of
This
getting all
is going to
three
make
today.
us look worse, though. You understand
Okay.
that, right?
First question is champion pool based.
All right.
The most picked AD carry for Clutch, and a hint, is TSM hasn't even played at this split. What's this AD carry?
Varus.
Well, there you go.
I don't know. I just yelled that.
Oh, you weren't confident
I didn't
on
really.
that?
I didn't think
You sounded confident on that, so I was
half
just
a life,
gonna-
James. That's
I was
half a
just gonna
life.
follow you on that
didn't
one.
think
I
so.
walked
Be.
right off a cliff behind Mark just now.
Most picked for
You said
them,
Varus, right?
Yeah.
and TSM hasn't picked it.
TSM
Yeah,
hasn't
Varus.
picked
I just said it. I'm not thinking.
That's what he said. I'm
All right.
going with him.
TSM literally played Varus last week.
So it's Caitlyn.
It's Caitlyn.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I said.
That's not what you said.
that's what I
Dash,
said.
why'd you go with Mark?
I don't, because
Okay.
he's the analyst.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't think about that when I just rattled it off. We only have 8.5
Question
minutes. I'm
number
not
two.
thinking.
Question number two. Drake percentage question.
Ooh.
Which of these 4 teams, these are the 4 teams with the highest Drake percentage, actually have it? Let's get the multiple choice up here so I don't screw up the order in this. But it's teams that have the highest Drake percentage: Clutch, TSM. Trying to remember the other 2 because I want to see which ones they are. Which of these
That is
4
failing his own
teams?
segment.
Team Liquid
Here it is.
and 100 Thieves.
Okay.
Team Liquid's Drake control, I don't think was particularly impressive. I think TSM.
No, even Cloud9 picked up a fair number.
TSM,
in
even when they
those
were losing,
games.
MikeYeung would like kill himself trying to get
Yeah,
those dragons
I think
on like
TSM's
Shiv
fine.
and stuff.
I could see Clutch just because, again, they had weak early games with low first blood percentages, so like you don't
Yeah.
have many
You wanna
opportunities to
split this
actually
one?
take the dragon.
You wanna
Do
split
you
it?
want to go? You want to go TL and I go Clutch?
No, I don't want to go TL.
Oh, you want to go Clutch?
I'd rather go TSM.
Oh, so you want to go what you think is right, and you want me to go something
Yeah,
that
what-
you
what-
don't
what
think
do you
is
think?
right?
I just don't
well,
think
fair
Team
enough,
Liquid's
Mark.
right.
That's a game we can
Are
play.
you going to go
Fine.
with Mark this time or no?
So
You
what
go
are you
first.
doing? What are you doing?
I'll go with.
I think it's Clutch.
All right, then you go Clutch.
I'm gonna go Clutch.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mark?
I'll go.
go
100 Thieves.
Okay, I thought you were, it's TSM. They
Oh,
actually have a 65.1%
Oh,
Drake
that's what
percentage.
I'm saying is TSM is
Wait!
pretty.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wait, we talked
They take
ourselves
all
into the
dragons.
lowest.
Yeah.
The question was which is the highest, and we
Oh.
just talked ourselves into the lowest
Yeah.
percentage.
Oh,
That's
oh.
why I chose Clutch, is because we talked
Okay.
ourselves into. Oh my God!
This
we
one,
suck at
this one. If you are on Twitch or YouTube, spam the chat for this question because we're gonna do an Ask the
We
Audience now if you guys
have voting
have
coming from
technologies.
Twitch and YouTube.
Question right away. It has to do with jungle proximity for this one. Remember, viewers can vote on Twitch and YouTube.
Help us out.
Which jungler in playoffs has the highest jungle proximity? So these are the ones we haven't seen in playoffs today. So
Right.
we've got MikeYeung, LirA playing today. Dardock and Meteor is playing next week. Which one essentially
Who has the
ganks the
highest
most?
jungle proximity? Not MikeYeung.
No, not MikeYeung. Dardock has a lot, but I always get confused because he has a higher opponent jungle proximity stat, but he also has a really high one.
And
in
remember-
response.
Again, I hope you guys are throwing your answers in chat to
Remember,
help us out.
jungle proximity is the percentage of time between 3 and 50 minutes the jungler spends with a teammate, essentially. So
Yes.
there's top jungle proximity, mid jungle
Woo!
proximity.
All right, here we
getting
go. We
help
got
from
some
Twitch
live
chat.
updating numbers. People, Dardock and Meteor. So
Yeah,
most
well, that
people
was
are going.
Highest JP
It
percentage.
does
so
make
you're
sense.
ganking the most.
People are calling the. Where's Meteor
People
going?
think
He goes
Meteor's
bot.
lot.
He goes bot a lot, but
constantly?
I don't remember him going top very much. Actually, some days jungle proximity. Was
Look,
higher than
I'm going to
top.
put my
I'm-
faith in the viewers, and I'm going to go with Meteos. I'm calling it now. It seems that he's running away with the vote, so I'm going Meteos.
Yeah, I'll go Meteos too.
I'm
Let's
trusting
blindly
all of you at
follow
home.
the
Don't screw
public
me on
opinion.
this.
It's LirA. Yeah, LirA has the highest.
It ain't that easy, is it?
I thought you were
how do
going
you
to
guys
this week.
It ain't that easy, is it?
39.2% jungle proximity percentage.
Yeah,
for
despite
these
having some of the
splits.
lowest first blood numbers
He
as well.
ganks the most.
Ganks the most, is the least
That's not a
successful
good
with
number.
it.
No.
Not a good number. All right, well, thank you very much for those humiliating stats. Thank you guys for your incorrect help. With the best of fives going down from here on out, there's a lot more that goes into each victory and defeat. So really, to test these two analysts, I'm bringing back over-under. Our first one, referencing today's series, is a question around Bjergsen for his deaths at 15. The over-under is going to be 0.5, and the context of that is that Bjergsen has only died once pre-15 in the entirety of the regular season.
Yeah, in 20 games.
So in 20 games, he's died once pre-15, and I'm putting the over-under at 0.5.
What are you saying?
Mark?
I'm saying over. I bet
Over.
They have to kill him once.
Just once.
In 3 games. They know Bjergsen's important. I would hope that they go for some gank, even like game 3, they're down 2-0 or something, whatever it is. Just
If 20 teams had a chance to do it and one of them did, Clutch has 3 chances and they only get first blood in 20% of the games, it's under. He won't die before 15.
Oh, I like it. We got some dissension on the desk right off the bat.
Logic.
Jat's going under, Mark's going over, moving right along. Febiven's forward percentage. We are going to go ahead and throw the over-under for this series, again, this series, at 17.5.
Yeah, Febi has one of the lowest forward percentages. His average is actually 17.6% for the split.
So it's essentially, that's the line. We're creating the line.
It's the lowest in the league for mid laners. It's not a very nice stat. You actually want higher pressure. So the question is, will he exert more here? And
I'm going to say under.
I'm going to say over. I think he'll do more this series. They'll have to play more aggressive. They understand, I hope, that they're the underdogs here and that they can't play their kind of like sit-back reactive style that they did to beat a lot of the lower teams in the standings.
All right, another split vote. You're going over, you're going under on that one. We got one more left to look at. This is going to be total kills within the series. Now, obviously, this can be dependent on the number of games, so you're somewhat predicting how many you think we're going to see. I'm putting the over-under at 48.5. The context here is that there were 52 kills in C9 versus TL yesterday, 3 games. TSM, their average has been 11 per game, and Clutch Gaming's has been 8.5 per game through the regular season. If you want some kind of numbers context, if you just added those together, multiply by 3. Exactly. You kind of... Jat's going over. He says we're going to see some blood.
Mainly because if it goes more than 3 games, I think we're going over. Even if it goes 3 games, there's a chance that they're bloody games because of the way Warden
Yeah, you're just playing the math of it all.
I'm going under. I'm playing the math too. That they don't. Neither of those teams average 15 kills in a game, so you're going to get somewhere between 8.5 and 11. So that's way under. TSM's supposed to 3-0. I think is what the expectation is.
All right.
Why
so
would this be a
clean
bloody
games
game?
out of TSM, winning in 3 means they're going to finish under. With 3 minutes left on the clock before the game, let's get some win conditions on the board. TSM, Jat, let's go.
TSM Jat, here we go.
I've been following a lot of the social conversation around this game, and even listening to our conversations. We all have TSM as huge favorites.
Very much so.
There's a lot of reasons you could give like logical win conditions, but one thing I'll say is mindset-wise, they shouldn't buy into fan sentiment. And what I mean by this is don't expect to win, don't play not to lose. This is what they've done previously when everyone builds them up as the favorites. They need to keep that winning attitude where they have to take steps to win the game like they did in the last 3 weeks of the regular season. Play aggressive, make plays, take risks, because that's how they'll actually win. And if we're just going to give TSM the victory, that is disrespectful to what they actually had to do to win League of Legends. So
proactivity.
Kind of play like they did the last 3 weeks, but that is, in doing so, not expecting to win.
There you have it. What about for our 6th seed in Clutch Gaming, Mark?
Well, unfortunately, they actually need to have good, coherent strategies. They can't just, be like, let's be in the right mindset and we'll be better. For me, Clutch Gaming, the first thing they have to do is crush MikeYeung. Not just beat him. Don't just get a little lead, 1 more kill. You actually have to really take advantage of him. Yeah, you got to get his blue buffs. Make sure you have the dragon control down, all this stuff, as well as upset a lane. I think across the board, TSM is favored in these lane matchups. Maybe not super dominant in mid, but you have to find one of these lanes to turn in your favor over the course of the series. So Apollo and Hakuho sometimes do counter picks in the bot lane. Maybe this means more attention in the mid lane for LirA, actually grabbing some first bloods around there. Find one of these lanes to upset, because Bjerg and Zven are absolutely popping off in the second half of the split, and you need to find some way to stop that.
With just a little bit of time left, I want to talk about draft strategy here, because we saw yesterday, of course, C9 being rather stubborn, throwing all those picks towards the top lane, still banning out the tanks. But Hauntzer, Solo, these are 2 guys that have actually shown, know, the willingness to jump to things like that Gangplank.
Yeah, I think Gangplank is a top laner who can actually show a lot of priority here. Hauntzer is still undefeated on that pick. And interestingly enough, even though Solo's numbers aren't quite as good as Hauntzer, it has been a very good pick for Solo as well, even in that final tiebreaker game they played against C9. So a pretty high priority in that pick right here.
Big matchup in the top lane. Last thing to get out there is your guys' predictions. I have a feeling I know which way it's going, and it's going to be more about game score. So let's run through it. TSM versus Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, for me, TSM 3-0, the problem that we've seen highlighted by Clutch, even in their most recent weeks, they don't do very much on the map. They lost some games where Febi's literally sitting mid, pushing as his bot lane's getting dove. You need to have a more proactive playstyle in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be very surprised if Clutch Gaming wins this series. I'm going TSM 3-0, trying to get it accurate.
All right, another quick day being predicted here by the analysts at the desk. We'll see what the teams, though, bring out here in game 1 of our best of 5. Time to throw it out to the battle arena. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dash. It's just about time to get into Champion Select for the first part of this best of 5 series. Remember, we are going to be on patch 8.5, so all the changes and differences associated with that we're going to see on the Rift here today.
Yeah, Kai'Sa disabled, new Swain enabled, and very powerful and very highly sought after.
Yeah, we've definitely seen Swain heavily represented in the ban phase, but as well picked up and utilized as far as one of those mid-range mages. Substitution maybe for some teams that got a lot of tank bans because he can soak a lot of damage as well as deal it.
A lot of TSM jerseys out there in the audience today. No surprise when a team with that level of reputation is going to be playing in the quarterfinals after a bit of a shaky early season. Now they're looking good, and they're here to prove it.
And these teams just played each other last week, so they had that tiebreaker match, and there's some things we can pull from that. The Azir was banned by TSM on blue side then, but they've added this GP.
Yeah, and the Azir ban is something I talked about on the dive as well, but Febiven has been undefeated this split on it. I think it's a really good ban, not only against the player, but also against the team. How Clutch Gaming have liked to scale more up into the later stages of the game, rely on that team fighting, and rely on him in the 5-on-5s.
And they've also been, relying on Apollo to win the lane phase on things like Caitlyn, and they instantly lock that in. That is so fast.
Exactly what you want to see, having that champion that you can rely on to be that carry down there. Bans already taken care of course. Gangplank, Azir, Rakan banned out by TSM. Skarner, Swain, Ryze all taken off the board by Clutch Gaming. They also lock in the Sejuani for themselves.
Yeah, and I would want to touch on this Olaf first pick from TSM, because Olaf is something that really defines your team, and that being picked so early on means that TSM wants to have a super powerful early game, go for invades with MikeYeung, and get him an advantage over LirA early on in this series. It's definitely a champion that can snowball very heavily. However, you do have to worry about, sometimes over chasing and letting a lead go away. He does not, have the same sort of tank scaling like Sejuani.
And a lot of people criticize him for having that fall off in late game, and then the Sejuani has this spike where her effective engage range is very high, and Olaf does have to kind of have that agency in the early game take over. So you're looking at MikeYeung to affect these lanes, and then the Sion that was picked up here is a flex pick, so TSM are already looking for some early power in this draft.
TSM putting some faith in MikeYeung there in the jungle to get things going with that Olaf, facilitate those lanes, getting where they need to be, but with the Tahm, Kench, and the Braum locked in for TSM and Clutch, respectively, the supports have both been picked up. We're into the second part of the bans, with Jhin being the next removal from the side of Clutch.
Yeah, Jhin going to be taken out here. Ezreal is one that TSM have used quite a lot.
Quite a bit.
With what TSM are showing right now, though, they have a lot of hard engage. You have the Sion ultimate to go with Olaf, and Abyssal Voyage has been used very effectively for a lot of early game sort of cross-map plays, trying to pick people off. So it definitely looks like TSM are kind of doubling down on that strategy, whereas Clutch Gaming on their side, much more kind of standard setup for them, right? They're going to try and shove down towers with Caitlyn and then rely on a strong front line to 5-on-5 later in the game.
And they went for some bans here that have a little bit of scaling to them and can hold up in the lane phase in terms of range. But the Ezreal is something that, like you were talking about, Kobe, Zven has gone towards time and time again. They've played 20 games this split for TSM, 10 of them he has played on Ezreal. That is more than anybody else has played on a single champion in the AD carry role. The next highest is Apollo, who's played 7 Caitlyn. This will be his 8th.
Well, we'll have to see if TSM responds to that most commonly picked AD carry with a most commonly picked AD carry of their own. Jhin and Cog removed, Cassiopeia and Camille off the board from TSM's bans, and it looks like Clutch Gaming decided to grab Gnar for themselves.
Yeah, pretty good all-arounder for the top side, even if the Sion does end up getting flexed.
And yeah, that means that you can kind of counter it with some other things, but with the Camille banned out, you feel pretty safe in that top side. And Zven, we'll see if he's messing around here. He hovered the Ezreal for a while. It does give him a lot of protection, and he has been loving that champion. So
won't be very surprised to see that locked in, but he's going to a lot of different things, and it's Varus that he actually settles on after he goes through the AD carry roulette there for a while, with Taliyah being the final pick for TSM.
We're seeing Jat stats in action here. Clutch Gaming first pick the Caitlyn, and then TSM again play the Varus. Looks like we are going to have even more roaming. So yeah, TSM, they showed it very early on with the Olaf pick, but they have kept to this strategy in their draft phase, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of early gameplay and a lot of movement from this team. Febiven, though, with the big upset pick here. LeBlanc going to try and put a stop to Bjergsen. Maybe we see LirA with a lot of action around that mid lane.
If there's a way that you make a statement in your first quarterfinal game, it's by picking LeBlanc into Bjergsen and saying, I'm going to carry this game.
And this is something that he must have had in his back pocket because he has not played it at all this split.
And Febiven, this is a guy that I kind of expect these types of things from. He would pick Zed versus FLICKR. He killed FLICKR.
Yeah.
Solo kill with it. You know, this guy has definitely had success on Assassin. So we'll see if they're able to utilize that in conjunction with some extra pressure, because they might need some more vision, might need some more jungle influence around that lane.
The issue here, though, is they have that semi-global comp with the Taliyah and the Tahm Kench. So if the LeBlanc tries to fall into a split push pattern later, you have to have the LeBlanc and the Gnar in a good position, because you're just going to get collapsed on by these guys who can just show up behind you with these ultis.
Not just Taliyah and Tahm Kench, but the Sion as well, able to close a lot of distance very quickly with that ultimate. TSM has a lot of ways to get around the map quickly.
Another thing is, I actually do like LeBlanc as far as dealing with Olaf sometimes. You know, her having magic damage for burst damage can be a problem, because Olaf will usually build into a Righteous Glory armor item and not want to get early magic resist. And one of the big fall-offs for Olaf is if you have enough burst damage to take him down as he's charging into the team.
Death is the greatest CC of all time, Kobe. You're not going to be rampaging through those back lines if you've got the black and white screen debuff. But now we load onto the Rift for the first time today. The gates are about to go down on the summoning platforms. The teams are about to charge out, and we'll see who can get the edge in this one. TSM in the blue, Clutch Gaming in the red. A best of 5 to decide who gets to be that last team going to Miami.
And I definitely have to look at the mid lane here. The fact that Febiven picked up this LeBlanc into Bjergsen, who has just been tearing it up recently, this is a lot of confidence for him, and if they can win here, that will definitely give him a lot of momentum.
And earlier, Bjergsen shared his thoughts on facing Febiven.
I think Febiven might be a little bit scared of me. When I play him in scrims, I don't feel like he's really playing up to his potential, or he's not playing as well as I see him playing on stage. And even in the tiebreaker, I remember hitting, I think, my first 5 Syndra Qs in a row, just in level 1 laning phase. And just from that point onward, I knew that we were going to win the game, because I feel like I have that mental advantage from the get-go. And I think that's going to also show up in our quarterfinals match.
Oh, baby, starting off spicy.
Saying he's already occupying Febiven's mind, so he might as well just take over the game while he's at it. We'll see if those words ring true. Looks like the junglers are going to be starting a little bit cheeky here for TSM, going after the red buff of Clutch.
Yeah, they have a lot of early game power, as we said, and they're going for a bit of an invade here. They've got some wards down. Clutch Gaming, though, going to get a leash for LirA on the bottom side for the blue.
That red from MikeYeung will be nice to deny some of the ganking power from LirA there, as well as just giving an extra edge to Mike. We talked about how the Olaf means you want to get going early, you want to affect the game. That's one way to start doing it.
And it's interesting, too, because since the bottom lane of Clutch Gaming also leashed on the blue side, that means TSM's bottom side is pushing, and the kind of countermeasures where LirA would go in and try and steal some of the bottom quadrant from TSM are kind of cut off, because mid lane is pushing, bottom lane is pushing, so as a jungler, you can't really make that move by yourself.
Exactly. They would have to have information and infer it, and then immediately have them shove. And you can see TSM are preventing that, where Olaf running straight to his red from the enemy Raptors, and Bjergsen is also hovering in this area with the Taliyah shove. So yeah, they're just cutting off all options, and it means LirA's going to get 1 quadrant of his jungle.
And he wisely recognizes that he couldn't go for that kind of an invade, that they don't have the type of control over mid lane and bottom lane that they would need in order to provide that counterattack avenue. So instead, he'll just have to play the hand that he's dealt.
Yeah, sometimes, though, if you outplay the enemy jungler so heavily that you take away all their camps and they have nothing to farm, then they'll go for a desperation gank. If that gank works out, then a lot of your hard work is kind of thrown out the window.
Wasted all your time.
I thought he might go for a look on bottom, but since Mithy here is playing very well, positioning behind Zven in the lane for possibilities of a gank, very defensive, you can just have the Devour and get him out. LirA doesn't even go for that, and he's going to try and just go top side, grab his Krugs, which Hauntzer is expecting.
And on the bottom side, that has been a very common strat for them. Mithy playing Tahm Kench, playing 9 games of Braum, making sure that he's always there to protect Zven, who's pretty safe on these carries. When he's playing something with low mobility, that kind of enables him to push and have pressure in the lane.
Yeah, Mithy is a long-time Tahm Kench player, very successful even on the world stage with the champion.
First people to bring it out.
Yeah, really like that play. Meanwhile, though, MikeYeung has gone back to the top side there. He's actually going for the early recall here rather than finishing his clear.
And of course, going for the early recall will allow him to pick up the tier 1 boots, enable the Predator, and that means we might get to see one of those Olaf ganks turn on and see him affect those lanes like we wanted to if TSM wants to really make use out of this pick.
The interesting thing here, though, is I don't know if MikeYeung would be able to go for a gank on a lot of these lanes. They're fairly safe, and they all have ways to get away. Instead, I think the best option is to find LirA and tag LirA and keep him down, because you're already ahead because you got those jungle camps, and now you might be able to chase him down as well.
Definitely a bit scary here for LirA as he goes into TSM territory. Sees that MikeYeung hasn't taken the Gromp, but again, the level 3 Sejuani, he's already been starved out in this game. He cannot step into enemy territory for long.
Definitely not with a double buff Olaf waiting there for him. Bjergsen's going to come around here as well to see if maybe they can find anything. MikeYeung continuing along on this chase. Just about in range for the undertow. Throws down the control ward just to make sure and says, go on,
Raptors.
come back into your own jungle. I'm taking these Raptors again.
Exactly, on the Raptor spawn.
Oh, that seismic shove almost found Febiven, but he gets himself out of the way in time as Bjergsen continues to control mid lane.
Yeah, Taliyah with the shove here, he's using his minion dematerializers, even gets a good chunk of health.
Mike is predatoring to the other side. He's like, we see him, we gotta go get him. Don't let him farm.
Jungling is a team game here, and TSM have their whole team coming.
Oh, LirA's in some trouble. He's about to be dunked down. The heal comes out, keeping him alive for now. TSM goes in. They don't quite find their mark, but they force out the summoner spell from the AD carry.
And Mike also gets the smite on the Gromp, so he steals it away. LirA's 2 levels down.
Again, using pushing lanes. Uh-oh, here we go for Febiven.
Febiven trying to get the solo kill onto Bjergsen here.
He might get it.
Gets
he
the chain.
Going.
A little bit more damage will do it. Febiven needs to go a little bit further. Gets some damage, but the heal. Bjergsen, both summoner spells down, but he walks away.
Yeah, a lot of that was Febiven used the teleport, got back to the lane, and then he had that gunblade and went for that all-in.
Yeah, doesn't know quite the location of MikeYeung there, so didn't want to overextend too much with Bjergsen, and he does get both summoners, but in the end, TSM also pick up the Ocean Drake. Another reward there for this jungle pressure.
And now you think TSM are going to try to protect Bjergsen a little bit because the Taliyah with those summoners down is very vulnerable to the LeBlanc closing the distance, chaining, and then also having the jungler appear.
Yeah, but then it's so hard to offer him any protection because Hauntzer on the Sion is shoving the Gnar in. Their jungler has been completely starved out. He's got control wards deep in his jungle and he can't do anything about it because the Olaf has too much 1v1 power as well as all these pushing lanes. So they would like to offer assistance, but nobody's coming.
Yeah, nobody's going to come to help you. Clutch have put themselves in a situation in this draft where every lane feels like they're shoved into their turret. They're saying, hey, jungler, I need some help. And the jungler says, well, I need some help too.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I got Olaf doing the same thing to me.
Yeah, I think LirA's best course of action is to just get whatever buffs he can as they're both coming up here, try to hit level 6, and potentially go for Bjergsen in the mid lane because he's flashless now.
Yeah, as soon as the Predator is up, expect MikeYeung to go very aggressive here. He's got a 2-level lead over LirA. Could just eat him alive if he finds him in the jungle. That's why he runs past wards, he runs past minions, doesn't care if they see him coming.
Bjergsen taking some damage from Febiven here again. But over the wall comes the axe. LirA going in with a flash, looking to make the damage happen. And Febiven is caught down. First blood to MikeYeung.
MikeYeung, very aggressive play from him there. He was there to protect Bjergsen because that's where you expect Clutch to get that kill, and he turns it around.
Oh my goodness, now he's gonna go in, take out the blue buff as well. You were looking for
Yeah,
LirA to at least get both buffs, but oh, he's gonna dive him instead!
He's coming back around. He doesn't have the ulti available any longer. LirA not even level 6, so no ulti for him either. But TSM is relentless in this first game.
Yeah, and now Hauntzer's gonna try his hand at it.
Tries to get in there, ends up getting behind his opponent, forces the flash out over the wall. LirA will escape from this one. But man, he is just not catching a break today.
I don't think I've seen a more aggressive use of the Predator boots at all in professional play. It is just on cooldown. MikeYeung is spamming it just to go across the jungle and find
Yeah,
him.
I mean, everyone's been talking about how insane Olaf, early game is right now, but in combination with team play like this, it is definitely too much for them to handle.
Wow, he saw him there as well. He saw MikeYeung on that ward for just a split second and was not expecting him to flash and be that aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much most Olafs now have been taking flash because you have a lot of speed boosts with the Predator as well as, the Righteous Glory and further items that you're going to build. And you don't really need the Ghost, but some people still, they associate Olaf as a champion with the inability to jump over walls. Not really true so much anymore.
The rudest kind of surprise if you're in a spot like that, but it still puts TSM 1 kill ahead, little over 1,000 gold up. They got that first Drake, like you mentioned earlier, Kobe, and honestly, this early game couldn't be going much better for TSM.
Yeah, a lot of that gold lead is on MikeYeung. He's about 800 gold up over LirA, and LirA is about to hit level 6, which will give him that ganking impact, but the Olaf is definitely doing what it was cut out to do.
And kind of what we were talking about in Champ Select, where TSM, yes, they start out with the foundation of Olaf early game. They accelerate this with some pushing lanes, but then they also have the Abyssal Voyage and the Taliyah ultimate. So the next stage of their game plan should be to try and use those cross-map abilities, to keep up this pressure. Whereas Clutch Gaming, they're trying to just get some sort of defensive foothold with which to counterplay.
And right now, LirA going into the river. He just hit level 6. Bjergsen doesn't have flash for a few more seconds here, so he's just trying to get some wards up and see what he can actually do to impact the map here as his camps are down.
Top lane continue to be shoved in by Hauntzer there. That's not really changed since the beginning of the game. You can see him building up almost a 20 CS lead for himself, even though these guys have just been left on an island the entire time. Sion is an incredibly potent laner, so not super surprised to see that going well for him, especially, I mean, Hauntzer's been having a great split for himself, if we're being quite honest. If we look at how this guy has performed, even when TSM wasn't having a great early split,
Predator
still made it happen, but now it's bottom lane that TSM are looking to make these moves go down. MikeYeung going to be tanking things up here at the start. Pops the Ragnarok. Apollo is history. Bjergsen grabs the kill, and TSM gets out easy.
Yeah, the roaming is beginning here from TSM. They actually don't even expend either of those ultimates to try and go for this. Just walk their way down, pick up their kill onto Apollo. They even got a teleport here out of Hakuho, who's arrived to try and, get some of these minions. But Clutch Gaming are definitely in the, okay, we need to stabilize, try and farm for late, boys.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a desperate situation for him, but you think back to one of the games they played where they ended up losing very early in the jungle invade to TSM, and then that was that long game that they first won with a lot of comebacks there, so TSM have to be respecting that. I know MikeYeung was in the back of his head that he can't let his guard down against LirA.
TSM take down the first turret there in the mid lane, build that gold lead up to 3K. Solo gets some damage down onto Hauntzer, popping the ulti just to have a more effective trade, but right now, Clutch just feels like they're on the back foot everywhere, and it's so hard to find that positioning.
And pretty much it's off the back of MikeYeung teaming up with Bjergsen in the mid lane, and during the last 10 games of the split, MikeYeung had worked with Weldon to get them all on the same page, and you can see he's being incredibly aggressive. He's taking those risks that you knew him for when he first appeared on the scene, and having that aggressive play that takes over the game. And now teaming up with Bjergsen, it looks like a force in playoffs.
Yeah, definitely the change from TSM that we saw over the season was how well they're working together. When they first saw, the European bottom lane come in and MikeYeung added to the team, a lot of the TSM losses were very, discombobulated, miscoordination between a lot of the team plays. But as you said, now definitely working in concert.
And finding that kind of success now that they've made it into playoffs, and now that this team is really hitting that stride, it's got to feel good for MikeYeung being a rookie like that, stepping up, meeting those expectations, and having TSM be this team that works so well, despite what people might have said, oh, is he a rookie? Is he going to be able to play? Well, right now he's playing.
Yeah, he's definitely playing. This is his first playoffs that he's played in. Then you go over to the Clutch Gaming side. This is Solo's first playoffs, and this is also LirA, Apollo, and Hakuho. They were in playoffs last split, and everybody was doubting them. They came in as well as one of those bottom seeds, and they took CLG to 5 games.
I remember that. I lost my voice on that series.
It was
that was great
at all. So they have the potential to show up in these series and when it matters. They haven't been able to go the distance, but they have been able to bring TSM to the brink before, because they do have match record over them so far, 2-1.
Yeah, very interested to see how best of 5 adjustments come into play here for Clutch Gaming. But in this one that we're sitting in, TSM has such a huge lead early on. So definitely going to see what sort of defensive play Clutch Gaming can try and have. Rift Herald, though, has been popped on the bottom side. This is after a Mountain Drake pickup. It looks like Clutch Gaming are going for the top side play.
All right, Clutch won't bother trying to defend bottom. Instead, they're looking to make a counterattack in the top lane. Hauntzer wanting to get away, but he still goes down. Derailed as he tries to get away, while bottom side Apollo will be left to defend against Shelly.
Yeah, they make the counterplay on the opposite side of the map. When you put a lot of people on one side, your other side is vulnerable. Hauntzer was not completely respecting that. They punish him for it, but they don't lose a turret because they have to return to their lanes.
Good roam there from Febiven. He's got the fully completed Hextech Gunblade upgraded and was able to pop Hauntzer fairly quickly on that top side road, getting some much needed gold for the Clutch Gaming side.
I mean, if you look at Hauntzer's itemization, it's a frozen heart. That's a lot of armor, but that's not going to do anything against a dive like this.
Yeah, you see, he comes through. They even have LirA coming to this top side here, but Solo leaps, gets the stun, and then the knock into the wall. So there's no flash until afterwards, and the chain had already connected there. So Hauntzer, it looked like he wasn't expecting to be dove, but he also just got CC locked and didn't flash in between it.
That's at least putting Clutch Gaming on the board now. They're down in turrets still. Yes, the objective count is a bit troubling at this point, but they've shown that they aren't just going to sit back and allow TSM to always be the ones dictating where the plays are going to happen and how the game is going to flow. They've shown the ability to strike back.
Yeah, Clutch Gaming, they aren't really a team that takes over. They actually have the lowest first blood percentage in the entire league at 20%, but they also average the lowest amount of deaths for any team in the NALCS. TSM is actually second to last. So they both average around 7.5 deaths per game. So Clutch, they know how to not give up a whole bunch early or more than what, they have to give away.
Yeah, they've talked about focusing very heavily on vision denial and trying to stop their opponent's plays. Now you can see there's a bunch of control wards they have on the bottom side. The top side is completely dark for both teams, but they're trying to implement those defenses on bottom side to stop the bleeding as well. And Febiven looks like he's on the move once again.
Yeah, they ping him out as well, and you see Hauntzer back up. Because Solo has that flash advantage, it's just always something in the back of your head as a top laner. If you mess up your flash and you still die, you're just even in a worse position where you just have to keep giving up lane pressure over and over again. So now the CS is actually swapped, and Solo is winning.
Speaking of questionable positions, TSM putting the bottom lane of Clutch in a situation like that right now as they send 4 men down to the bottom lane, put the last couple shots into that turret, and take yet another objective for themselves.
Rage Blade completed for Zven now on Varus just in time. They finished up the turret, and they're actually ready to transition here. So I would expect TSM to finish up the last outer turret up on that top side before trying to close in on Clutch Gaming's jungle. They've been, they did a good job early on in the game starving out LirA, but once the last outer turret falls, that's where kind of the loop finally closes.
Yeah, and now you see they swap the lanes, but also Clutch Gaming are doing the same and matching and swapping their lanes. But like you had said earlier, Kobe, all the vision's on the bottom side. So on the top side, there's very little vision here, and this is one of those moments where something can happen that teams aren't expecting, where you find somebody in a brush or 3 people are up there.
And remember, even though TSM did have that 4-man threat in the bottom lane just moments ago, no resources were expended. The threat was enough to force Clutch Gaming to retreat to grab that turret for themselves. So TSM still has all these playmaking abilities ready to go if they can find those collapses with the Abyssal Voyage, with the Taliyah wall. There's plenty of ways they can get in there and force these plays. LirA now going to be finding MikeYeung in his own jungle, lands the stun, gets a little bit of damage down, and Mike's forced out.
Yeah, speaking of, playmaking, Bjergsen did rush the Luden's Echo on the Taliyah as well, so he's definitely looking to have a high impact. In addition to the ultimate getting him there, he wants to have the damage when he arrives. And TSM, they get MikeYeung out of the jungle without having to pop his ult or anything.
Oh,
there they go.
A dive. Top lane.
Side, 1 versus 1. Not going to turn into a whole lot just yet. TSM looking to shove down this tier 1 in the top lane. Apollo getting some damage down to Bjergsen, who's going to be caught out for now. Keeps himself alive with a stopwatch for a little bit longer.
Solo's mega.
MikeYeung in retreat. Solo's able to come into the back line with the Mega Gnar, now having to hop away. Clutch Gaming trying to get themselves back now. The health bar is getting pretty low. Apollo still finding some free firing time off to the side. Hauntzer's not able to get the ulti the way he wants. And both sides back out.
Yeah, at the start, that's an ultimate from Mithy to get both summoners from Apollo, but then it just ends up being this trickle in where everybody's not able to find exactly what they want on the engage.
Yeah, all ultimates blown in the entire game. Zven also blows both of his summoners in the end. Mithy as well, trying to save Bjergsen there. So a bit of a scramble on the exit, but nobody goes down in the end.
Yeah, Bjergsen looks like he's dead to rights after this too, because Apollo lays a trap on top of him. He's already got the permafrost 4-stack, but he blows the hourglass, or gets the stopwatch, and then Mithy gets in position here to gobble him up, and you think he's dead, right? But nope, Mithy's gonna eat him, and he's fine.
Yeah, that was such great play by Hakuho. He stops the wall from Bjergsen. He forces him off and right into the LirA and Apollo combination there. They had such a good amount of damage, but Tahm Kench is on the enemy team. Mithy gets over there in time after the Zhonya's is blown, or the stopwatch was blown. And in the end, they're going to have the retreat.
And he sold it immediately afterward, too, so no stopwatch in the inventory for those items. Braum's bottom, too.
Hauntzer trying to make the play here onto Solo. Does land the ult this time around. Bjergsen coming up as well, but Solo is already to the safety of the turret. That's not going to turn into a whole lot for TSM. They will try to steal away some of this jungle as they walk out. MikeYeung going to find Febiven there.
And you saw that jungle proximity where MikeYeung had an immense amount towards Bjergsen, where LirA was kind of contained in his jungle and couldn't get towards his lanes, especially the top lane. Solo, this was kind of left on an island here, had 0 jungle proximity, so it was completely not allowed on his top side of the map.
Another thing to mention here for Clutch Gaming, while the early game was very TSM favored and looked like they're completely taking over, Clutch Gaming have been the team to play the long game. So they're still just trying to farm up here. They have all outer turrets as a possible gold source. This standing gold that we like to talk about in the outer ones, where if TSM do make one of those mistakes and they aren't able to get everyone out after an aggressive play like that, Clutch Gaming have a lot of possible rewards that they could take on the map.
Yeah, that top turret is very close to going down because of Apollo and Hakuho just pushing. And another advantage that Clutch have is they have double teleport that can't be matched from TSM. If you put your LeBlanc in a side lane, it's either Hauntzer or Bjergsen that has to answer, and they're kind of the people you want to have help out, and Mithy's the other guy who really you want to have that semi-global to get to a side lane. So if you're able to contain in a 1-3-1 formation later as Clutch, then you might stand a really good chance of slowing the game down and allowing yourself to get objectives. But right here, they're looking for a fight. Here comes Febiven and LirA from the side.
Facial Fissure already going to be used by Hakuho there, looking to start the fight off, but it's MikeYeung into the back line, now going to be targeted, unstoppable, still walking himself away, but Zven maybe taken down next. A very nice save from Mithy, but it's still not going to be enough, and Clutch finds the TSM AD carry. Bjergsen coming in, reinforcements have arrived, and Apollo is on the retreat. Hauntzer rampaging through these front lines. Solo has to hop himself away. TSM still looking to maybe make something else happen here, having to back away now. Mana gone on Bjergsen.
That is a one fight for Clutch Gaming. They get exactly what they want, that bottom lane, and they end up getting away with slivers.
And it's all because TSM had Hauntzer on the bottom half of the map with no teleport. He tries to use a Sion ultimate to go all the way up the river, and he does arrive in the end to get a counter kill there for TSM. But you're right, that was some good momentary success for Clutch Gaming, trying to take advantage of the positioning.
Yeah, because you can only play passive for so long, and you have to find those openings where you can actually exploit the opponent, and that's one right here that Clutch recognized. They say, doesn't have TP, bottom side there, and then they go up, and Febiven pulls him in really far, but then, whoa, TSM looks like Baron on the table.
Back to live, TSM deciding Baron's going to be the call. The Weaver's Wall coming out almost guarantees they're in the pit. Clutch Gaming dropped the ward. They know what's going on now. LirA could still try to come over the wall here. Baron very low. LirA's got to go in right now. Can he do it? MikeYeung's got the secure, and LirA gifts over a kill.
Ooh, man, that one really gets your heart beating, because in the end, Clutch Gaming did have the possibility of the steal there. Febiven went in at the same time as LirA. Now he's on the run, though. Has to flash away.
Yeah, that looked like MikeYeung threw down his E at the same time. He's maxing the Reckless Swing second, so it does 300 true damage right now, and combine that with his Smite.
This is the faith you want to see TSM put in this jungler. This
Really?
is what MikeYeung wanted to see. If you're
That's
MikeYeung,
scary.
yeah, it's a scary situation to be in. A 50-50 is your team saying, we believe you can do this and make us win this game right here, right now.
I mean, there's been criticism of TSM for years about how they changed their junglers into wards, basically. You take these high mechanic junglers in the past and say, all right, you got to play this style. But you can see MikeYeung is finding a way to team up with Bjergsen, take over the map early, and then now he's just tearing the game apart and running into the backline free.
Whenever I see something like that, all I hear is, you better not mess this one up,
You
boy.
better not miss it. Oh, it's gonna be bad if you miss it, but he didn't miss it today, and that means TSM are now set up in a fantastic position. 4 turrets to 0, 6,500 gold lead. Clutch has put up a very respectable defense so far, and before that Baron play, they'd even won the fight in top lane, but now it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, exactly. Because TSM do get the Baron off that, they also get the kill onto LirA. Now they're all just full out siege mode here, pushing in, getting a lot of extra gold, and this is going to definitely bridge the gap through the mid game for them.
MikeYeung will continue doing what he's done the entire game long, getting into the jungle of LirA, putting down some wards, controlling everything, and Mithy now having the banner of command puts TSM where they want to be for this push.
Exactly, he just used it, and there's not really good wave clear on the side of Clutch Gaming. They can't really reach that. It's up to Caitlyn, and that's about it.
Yep, tower's starting to melt here. TSM now at the inhibitor turrets, chunking down Hakuho as well.
Hakuho half HP, Solo half HP. Hauntzer just continue to push up as the Weaver's Wall will zone Clutch Gaming away. LirA and Solo on the wrong side of it. They're having to retreat back towards that very far edge as the first inhibitor turret falls 23 minutes into the game. TSM looking for inhib, and they'll find it, no contest.
They got to push up that mid lane. Hakuho dematerialized the banner minion, but Hauntzer was already on that side. And look, they're rotating top. They're trying to use that Abyssal Voyage to just keep this momentum up.
It's not stopping anytime soon. Zven will continue putting the auto attacks forward. Clutch Gaming looking for a chance to defend. It's going to be Hakuho thrown forward by the Seismic shove. The Unbreakable doing a good job keeping him from taking too much excessive damage. But if you're talking about excessive damage, there's a lot into that tier 3 turret. It is gone. TSM get themselves another entryway towards an inhibitor, but they'll back away before they go for that second one.
And there's no more minion dematerializers left on Clutch Gaming, so if they have to deal with another one of those sieges, there's not going to be an easy way to actually put a stop to that bannered up minion.
Yeah, you're Clutch Gaming, you're going, I at least hope we make it to the next Baron
Yeah.
and that next situation.
Like, that would be great if we were in that situation.
Right here, though, it gets very low. It gets down to about 800, and that's when he goes for the E plus the smite. But it does actually end up in 500 range there. So there goes the E from Olaf plus the smite. That's out of the range for LirA, but there was that small brief moment. You kind of have to treat the Olaf E like your own if you want any chance, but they believe in MikeYeung, and he comes up big.
Yeah, Reckless Swing is definitely one of the quicker true damage spells to be able to combo with an epic objective like that. But even so, whenever you're trying to do that, you have this panic mode that that does set in there for that split second, because you did see there was a frame there at least, where there's a chance. Great job though for TSM to secure it, and now they've got a pretty much open field to work with here, just clearing out the Clutch Gaming jungle and trying to push these minions in, because supers are already headed bottom.
9,000 gold ahead. One lane of super minions already pushing up. 6,500 gold of that lead coming from the Baron power play they secured only minutes ago. And they've got complete control of the entirety of the map. The cupcake line is set up. Apollo's going to try to defend behind that, but TSM not even super concerned about it, to be quite honest, other than LirA trying to do something against Hauntzer here, 2 versus 1. That's gotta be a misclick. LirA not wanting to expend that resource there with the hourglass, but that just means now that's one less resource for TSM to have to worry about and consider as they continue to push towards this second inhib now in the top lane.
Yeah, I always like the idea of buying a late game stopwatch to make a big play, but more often than not,
I don't think that was it.
Messing up the key binding there. Here we go though. Now it looks like Clutch Gaming might try and make a last stand here.
Going in.
Glacial Fissure on towards TSM, going to be completely denied by Mithy's ability to keep these carries safe once again. And Mithy has honestly done an incredible job protecting the people who matter on TSM in all the big moments this game. But it's Solo who's able to go in, gets the Mega Gnar ulti down onto a couple different people, but TSM mounting their own counterattack, grabbing the kill onto LirA. Solo's going to be next. and there is no way for Clutch to stand against this gold lead. Febiven in retreat, Hakuho still alive, but almost completely out of mana. Apollo backing up to the safety of the Nexus turrets. He's got a hell of a task to defend this one here now as TSM moves all 5 members towards the mid lane. They've got the minion wave. The inhibitor turret will fall. Inhibitor now as well. And that means double super minions in every single lane. If the game doesn't end here, it is going to be one hell of a challenge for Clutch Gaming.
And they're right on it. Febiven gets knocked in.
Febiven having to flash away from the seismic shove after it does manage to throw him backwards a little bit. Nexus turret number 1 already out of the picture. TSM continuing to push towards the second one. They've still got another 10 seconds before Solo's back alive, but they don't want to risk anything.
Yeah, they decided to just back up, potentially reset here, and go for the Baron that's up in 50 seconds. And that's a very kind of safe call here. I like this where Hakuho blocks the wall so everybody can actually walk around after. But Clutch are just so far behind that this fight is overwhelmingly in TSM's favor, even when Febiven jumps on Bjergsen in the back.
Yeah, Bjergsen got a nice seismic shove there as well. Huge chunk on that front line, and they're easily able to, deal with most of the base. TSM, you're right. There are these objectives that are coming up on the map. There's a possibility that they could just go into the base with all the super minions coming in. But in the back of your mind, if it's a playoff game, you want that like 0.01% chance that they win a team fight against you.
Probably not. So they're going to even take the Mountain Drake right before as well. It's pretty much just taking care of business here. I was looking at how TSM play these games out. They average the 2nd longest game time out of any team in the NALCS. So even though they ended up in 3rd at the end of the season, they still play relatively long games because they are very methodical once they get that lead.
They'll look to close this one out shortly after picking up Baron buff number 2. Clutch Gaming will probably go for a contest here because if you don't, you just lose anyway.
Yeah. Well, they're halfway out on the map. So.
All right, that's further than they have been in a little while now as Hauntzer eats a little bit of damage, but that's still the tank. You don't really mind too much. He's got the Warmogs that'll heal him right back up. Baron for TSM.
Inhibitor respawn for Clutch, so no double.
How much longer will it be there?
Exactly. It's the silver lining here where they don't have to defend all 3 lanes, just 2 for now.
Well, they will fall back towards that last remaining Nexus turret. It's only got about 2/3 HP. If they ever want any possible fight, it's pretty much going to have to be at that turret. TSM with an 11,000 gold lead just wants to end it right here.
And TSM also has double Mountain Drake, so if they wanted to, they could actually just shove straight down mid and go for the end.
Yeah, Clutch Gaming already starting to think about, the rest of this series and how TSM did take over this early game. We're going to have to see how they adjust between these ones, but Febiven goes for a little bit of an opening here onto Zven.
Oh, he finds a minor amount of damage. They're going to get the Olaf ultimate down now as well, but MikeYeung's decided to go in, find some damage of his own. TSM just continuing to zone Clutch Gaming away, giving Zven that free firing time onto the respawned inhibitor. Clutch still looking for maybe an opportunity here. Seismic shove going to keep Solo away. Zven will continue those auto attacks into the inhibitor as it goes down. Nexus now exposed. Inhibs all gone. TSM looking for the win right here. LirA wants to go in, not going to be able to. Taken down before he ever got the chance. A killing spree for Zven as Clutch Gaming retreats back into the spawn platform, and TSM will go up 1-0.
It's just a dominant victory from TSM from start to finish with the control they had. I felt like LirA didn't even get to play League of Legends.
Yeah, biggest thing about this game is that TSM show they can play around the super early game snowballing of Olaf. Really good strategy as far as the pushing lanes. Also playing to the strengths of those champions, continuing at the invades. MikeYeung doesn't care about any sort of vision on him, just goes to deny camp after camp after camp. And they really were able to have such a dominating early game that even though it came to a little bit of a possibility of a 50-50 later on, pretty clean victory there.
Yeah, I don't always like to look at draft and be like, that was kind of the biggest thing they need to change, but I think the way they set up the level 1 and the jungle and the protection might be what they kind of take from this game for Clutch. Not a lot you can take past 5 minutes.
Before the Rift and on the Rift, it was a good showing from TSM, but now to hear more about that Game 1, let's send it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. No surprise that TSM is out hot here in Game 1 of a best-of-5, where they are very much favored against Clutch Gaming and ultimately winning in fairly dominant fashion. That said, it's played in somewhat contrast to the win conditions that you laid out, Mark, right? You had talked about LirA needing to put the hurt on MikeYeung, and yet it completely reversed in this game.
This is kind of
They're
why.
not going to win if that happens.
Yeah, that was kind of why you needed this win condition, because TSM, they have the stronger laners. They get about a bunch of pushing lanes, or at least lanes that go even, and then they get the better jungle matchup, so they can do stuff like this to LirA all early game.
Exactly. They shove in early. Bjergsen even throws down a workaround to get some harassment. And then TSM never shows that they've left. So Clutch has to kind of guess. And LirA doesn't want to run into a red buff Olaf, so he does a very conservative clear. But then this gets super punished by TSM. Because like one thing that could happen oftentimes when you're starting the enemy's red is that LirA could just go take TSM's red. But he's worried that MikeYeung is just going to go straight red to red and push him off. But Mike actually takes some time, takes the Raptors, then ends up going red to red. So all this time that LirA's like slowly clearing his blue side, Mike is getting rid of all of LirA's options.
And what's interesting about this too is because he's taking the Raptors, he's going to know the exact timing on those. And so LirA, I think, makes the best of a bit of a bad situation. He could have gone for a riskier plan, but this is one of the safer ways to do it. He takes everything that he feels safe taking on the bot side, including the Scuttle Crab, before recalling top, and he knows his Raptors in red are gone, and that's when he goes and takes his own Krugs and things like that too.
Yeah, there's the clever recycle there where he then stole, as you say, the Raptors and the Gromp afterwards. But that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game there, where everyone was also shoving up to help MikeYeung make those invades.
I mean, you saw it even at level 1. Taliyah had already pushed the lane in so that Olaf could run straight through mid lane back to his own red. You've got a Sion who doesn't have a ton of trouble pushing, as well as a Varus who can wave clear. And so much of the early game was about the lane control for TSM. The first turret going down being that mid turret for Clutch Gaming. But ultimately, a few skirmishes showed that Clutch Gaming had some life in this game and in this series.
They could have been able to win this if they weren't already 3,000 gold behind. They still come out the better in a 2-for-1, but they did not actually have any pressure on the end of this fight. They had already lost their bot turret, and then they go for this Baron Force, which might look pretty risky, but it's actually really hard to combo this correctly because they didn't have great vision on it. They try and go over, and MikeYeung, with his E smite combo, can do around 1,000 damage. And it's like, do you think a team that's behind, collapsing as fast as they can, combo better than one guy by himself with true damage? Probably not, so it's still a bit of a risky Baron, but I don't hate it.
Again, I think there is an argument to be said for if your chances of winning the game are already 90-10, why take a situation that's 70-30 and could put the other team right back in it? So there will be some questions raised around that Baron. Ultimately, they did secure it, and they looked good for it. It was an easy closeout from that point onward.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it also factors into confidence. LirA has not been good at Smite the whole year. In the game that Clutch Gaming actually did beat TSM, it was a Baron steal, and that was off of MikeYeung having bad smites. But when I think about that play in particular, as Mark said, it was an 876 health Baron. MikeYeung's E does about 300 damage at that point, and his smite does 80 more damage than LirA. And the fact that Mike hit it from 876 to 0 in essentially a frame meant LirA never had the chance to smite it. So yes, it could be bad. But if TSM is trusting Mike and Mike says, Olaf has great Baron secure, I can spike it from over 1K, then they're just going to do it.
And to that point, like when Jab was talking about his win condition being, you know, think of this as a serious matchup, don't be overconfident and play aggressive. Like, this is a good mindset to see. Maybe it's not the perfect play, there's safer options, but if you're TSM, a team that sometimes struggles with being too safe, go out there and make a play like this and show confidence as a team that, like, yeah, Mike's got this. I'm not even worried about it. I'll Taliyah wall early, whatever, we'll get this Baron.
Yeah, definitely could have done better. I'm not saying, like, TSM clearly knew this was 100% play.
Right.
But there's times when you're playing opponents, whether it's in the semifinals or later this series,
you're gonna have to
make a Baron rush. So you need to have confidence in those situations, and this is not the confidence they had earlier in the year, for sure.
Well, we're one game into a predicted 3-0 victory here for TSM, so I kind of want to keep track of the over-unders as we called them out throughout the day. Obviously, we saw that Bjergsen did not die in this game within the first 15 minutes, and so therefore is still under that 0.5 with at least 2 games to go. The forward percentage for Febiven,
pretty low.
Far below that 17.5 mark. That we had
I called under on
about.
forward percentage.
I thought you called over.
No, you called over because you said he should play aggressive because that's how they got to win.
You guys have these reversed. I called over on Bjerg dying. Jack called over on forward.
Well, we're checking the tapes on this.
Somebody give me some confirmation.
Am I crazy? I'm the one who said Bjerg was going to die.
I don't know.
You did, and then on this one,
we'll
you're backwards, dude.
Don't
I
worry,
don't even
we'll
know
figure
what
it out.
you
We'll come back and I'll make sure you know who's wrong. And then, of course, we've got the overall number of kills in this game. We're not at nearly close to 48.
I called over 48.
You called over 48 and a half. We'll continue tracking
scared.
that, as this was a relatively quick game and therefore somewhat low killed if we are to go to only a 3-game series. We are going to step away when we return. It's Clutch Gaming trying to get their revenge in Game 2. Don't touch that browser.
Yeah.
I called over.
I called under. You're wrong.
Whenever you pick me, song. Okay.
Who? You?
Yeah.
Who? Kevin?
Yeah.
Who asked?
Who? You, Kevin? You're gonna carry?
Bjergsen taking some damage from Febiven here again. Over the wall comes the axe. LirA going in with a flash, looking to make the damage happen. And Febiven is caught down. First blood to MikeYeung. Zven maybe taken down next. A very nice save from Mithy, but it's still not going to be enough. And Clutch finds the TSM 80 carry. Bjergsen coming in. Reinforcements have arrived.
Go finish it.
Oh, we have to go now.
It's too low.
I got it.
Oh, nice. Sash.
Yeah, kill Sesh.
I'll never miss that night.
TSM mounting their own counterattack, grabbing the kill on to LirA. Solo's going to be next, and TSM will go up 1-0.
Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. Since we know the importance of lending a hand, we want to highlight players and plays that help the team bring home the big W. If you have a favorite assist from this week that you want us to highlight, tweet the clip with the hashtag NALCS and the hashtag StateFarmAssist, and we may feature it in a future episode. So get out there and bring some support.